Thank you all for coming to this part of the event. So I'm going to let my counterparts, my friends here introduce themselves. But what we want to talk about today is two very different approaches to what is in essence the same business, which is commercial real estate and what we're calling digital real estate. So John, you want to start, please?
Sure. My name is John Gilbert. I'm Chief Operating Officer for the Rudin family. The Rudins have owned property in New York for over 100 years. We currently own and operate 15 million square feet, 10 of it office and 5 of it residential. And recently we jumped into the software world where we've launched a software company called Prescriptive Data. And the main product is a brain for buildings called Nantum.
Jeff?
Jeff Ginsberg. I am not Marc Ganzi. I did used to have red hair, but I don't anymore. But I'm COO of Digital Colony, which is a leading investor in digital infrastructure. We're investing currently out of a $4 billion fund and own companies that play in the digital real estate space like Extenet. And we recently announced last year and will be closing, hopefully, pending some final approvals on the acquisition of Zayo. So very active in the space, have been for many years, and happy to be here.
Thank you, guys. So as Eric mentioned, I'm Rich Berliner. I'm the publisher and CEO of Connected Real Estate Magazine. Our company is called 5th Gen Media, and we are a digital media company, and our flagship is the Connected Real Estate Magazine. So we were part of this event. The fellows from TMC were kind enough to include us in this event, and it's been just an absolute fantastic venue for us, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you to the TMC team, Dave Gonzalez and the rest of the folks at TMC. So without further ado, John, I want to start with you. It's funny, the way I thought about this and the way we originally talked about this is that you are a hard asset commercial real estate and residential real estate owner, but as we've talked over the last 2 days, really not so much. You are in the software business too. So how do you see the coming together of hard assets in real estate and the soft assets in things like software as a service and those things? Is it closer to digital real estate than we might think?
Well, we like to say that if you think you're in the real estate business, think again, because you're really in the technology business. And the reason for that is that the data that we collect, the raw material, if you will, is become hugely valuable and important as we run our properties. So we take occupancy data and we correlate that against fan speed, and we deliver a better, more efficient product, and we save money. We look at the experience that our customers have within our real estate, and that doesn't have anything to do with chillers, fans, pumps, or motors. To the customer cares about, what does it feel like when I walk into this building? What does it feel like to live in a Rudin building? What does it feel like ultimately to have a meeting, and how am I approached and welcomed? So we really are focused on the experience and less so on the brick, mortar, steel, and glass, even though that's very, very important, but that's really invisible to our ultimate customer. And so we focus on them and the experience that they have.
So I would dare say that many of the people in the room have not heard the term prop tech. FinTech meaning financial technology. There's many different flavors of the different technologies, but prop tech is a word that most people in our business have not heard yet. Can you describe what prop tech is to you and what it means?
Sure. So prop tech is any technology that wants to attach itself to a built environment or to real estate. Jeff's going to talk about the infrastructure that feeds those buildings. That's an important piece of it. But you've got, water consumption apps, you've got electrical consumption apps, you've got steam consumption apps, you've got, ultimately any data point that you're extracting from your building has an opportunity for an application. What we saw early on is that what we didn't want to have happen was to die the death of multiple dashboards. If I have to look at a dashboard for every single application that we've got running in our properties, I'm dead. So what we did was create Nantum. Nantum, everybody says, what's Nantum? Nantum is derived from an ancient Algonquin word that means prayer or blessing, and it's a brain for buildings. It's a single integrated platform that every application can plug into so that those data sets don't continue to sit in silos. They can be correlated against each other and utilized to create efficiencies and opportunities for savings and enhancement in experience.
So it feeds your hard asset real estate business by using software that you've developed on your own to make your buildings more efficient. Is that about right?
Correct. And also, now we've spun that off, so we've taken it into other people's portfolios. Largest bank in the world, largest asset manager in the world, largest hedge fund in the world have all adopted this. Because I think when you really sit back and you look at real estate in terms of how it should be run, if our phone has an operating system, if this iPad has an operating system, why don't our buildings have an operating system? Why shouldn't this room understand all the people that have just filed in here and then to be automatically adjust the air conditioning based upon the increase in occupancy that just occurred over the last 15 minutes? It should happen, and in our buildings and others it does.
Gotcha. So at an early meeting you and I had, and I have to, again, thank you, you were one of the people that encouraged me that we needed this educational outreach that we're bringing forward. But one of the things you said to me at that lunch was, look, Rich, without connectivity, all this prop tech stuff is a bunch of nonsense. We have to have connectivity to make it work for us. So, Jeff, that brings me to you and your digital assets. So now John needs an operating system for his building, and he's created this software. But at the end of the day, if there isn't connectivity for him, he's shot. So how does what you're doing at Digital Colony fit in with what everybody in the real estate business and hospitals and hotels and all those things, how does that feed this need for connectivity in buildings?
Well, so I'd say there's two parts to it. One, and we look at a digital infrastructure ecosystem, which really is comprised of towers, cell phone towers, data centers, both hyperscale, which are really core computing data centers, and edge data centers, small cell networks, which really are metro capacity driving cell sites, mini cells for coverage, and really the glue that brings it all together is fiber and a fiber backbone. And when you are, what our goal is at Digital Colony is, when you're watching, my kids, don't watch TV, they're streaming whatever they are on their iPads, but or on their mobile devices, but we're all walking around with supercomputers. I left mine over there in a rare moment. But literally, when you are making a call, streaming a video, it is touching likely something that we own, whether it's going over a tower that Verizon is on, going into a data center where content is stored and served up, or traversing on a small cell network. So all of the applications and software and content rides on digital infrastructure, which is incredibly important and rooted in traditional real estate. So, a tower is a real estate asset. You have either own the land or you have a long-term lease, you have entitlements, you have zoning, you enter into leases with tenants that happen to be really high credit and sign really long-term leases. And the tenants don't complain if the air conditioning of the building's not working or the lobby's not clean. They just want to be on network and on the air. And each one of the businesses has different customer facing requirements and opportunities, but it's all rooted in real estate. So I'd say that. The second part of this is some of these businesses really directly interact with buildings, whether they're retail, residential, office, industrial, there is a huge digital infrastructure element to traditional real estate. John and Rudin had pioneered that back from the original 55 Broad Street in Manhattan. And we get very involved in that. And, I had a company 25 years ago that leased the rooftop. Then you went into wiring the riser, and we were joking before, now there's enough fiber and broadband capacity in the metro areas where the promise of the lit building and the smart building can finally really come to fruition, which is very exciting. So really it's about bringing choices to your tenants, bringing diversity, and then letting sort of the application development sort of take its natural course. And so where we come in is just to have that infrastructure and work with landlords and help fund it and design it and bring it there. But where that enables the magic, I guess is what I'd say.
So we did a story in our magazine about the CEO of your company, Marc Ganzi, and I take credit, I named this one, atop of the world and under your feet.
Yeah.
So bottom line is that's kind of an accurate picture that from the top of the tower to the underground fiber and the data center that might be an edge data center, we're really getting closer and closer and closer. So the old saying, there's no wireless without wires, really applies to you specifically.
Well, definitely. And listen, wireless deployments and, whether it's CBRS, LTE, 4G, 5G, like that is all very important, and we believe is ultimately will be the most efficient sort of not last mile, but last foot delivery model. But the fiber network at the core is really, really important, and we've got we keep building and overbuilding, but there does seem to be sort of an endless need for fiber capacity. But to your point, when I got started in this business and had started in the cellular telephone business, we were competing on the basis of coverage maps, and you would need to go to the highest point possible, whether it was on a mountaintop or a tall building, and blast away. And just over the years, the elevation requirements have just come down significantly, and the tower's sort of gone horizontal. So literally it's now small cells, fiber fed small cells that are on bus stops, sides of buildings, street lamps, in building, and that's where the future is. And small cell nodes, literally, I think the projections are Extenet has like 30,000 or 35,000 nodes. The market is going to go to like 750,000 in the next few years. So it's
you'll be wearing a node on your head like a helmet.
Exactly.
Huh?
Exactly.
So John,
get it installed.
As I was thinking about this, you've got antenna locations on some of your buildings. So you're more of a digital real estate company than I thought at the beginning of this. But if you add the software piece, so really you're thinking digital a good portion of your day, I would assume. You're not doing much with the antenna on the roof of that building. But on the other hand, that's bringing you revenue, and so you really are in a way similar to Jeff in that sense.
Well, as Jeff mentioned, we did redevelop 55 Broad Street, which many call the grandfather or godfather of all smart buildings. This was 25 years ago, 1995, 96. And at that time in our marketing, we said that the real estate moniker of location, location, location will be forever changed to location, bandwidth, location. Because if you can't, you've got a great location, great transportation, but if you can't access those global marketplaces, what good is it? And we own 32 Avenue Americas, which is the old AT&T Long Lines building. It literally was where the internet was born when MCI was trying to push fiber from 60 Hudson into 32 Avenue Americas, and they ran down to the judge in Washington during the big lawsuit and said, hey judge, we've got our fiber in 32 Avenue Americas, but AT&T won't let us connect to our network. And the judge said, is that true? And they're like, what are you talking about? And what they had done was, back in the day, to connect these buildings, they actually had vacuum tubes, so that if you were in India and you were ordering, 15 ton of cotton, telegraph would come into 60 Hudson. Somebody would write that down, put it into a glass tube, whoosh, down to the cotton exchange, trade executed, whoosh, back up, ... Well, those tubes still exist. And what MCI did was they actually put that fiber through those tubes, and that's when the internet was born, when the judge ruled, hey, their fibers in 32 Avenue Americas, let them connect. Now that building, we bought that building in 1999. We said, okay, how do we differentiate this new telco building? And this was the original Long Lines building, where, in its heyday, 5,000 women would work in it every day, connecting a local operator to a long distance operator, and then connecting you to grandma down here in Miami Beach. And now suddenly all of those people have been replaced by machines. So we took over that building and we said, okay, how do we differentiate it? Let's make it the linchpin between broadband wireless and broadband terrestrial. And smart move on our part, because now that rooftop is the most active rooftop in the world in terms of bandwidth going through that. So that to me is digital real estate. That to me is really understanding that you can't have one without the other. You can stack up customers, but unless you're giving them that big pipe or that big wireless, fixed wireless feed, then it's value. You need what Jeff has, and you need what I have and what the Rudin family has in order to make that true value.
Gotcha. So, Jeff, I don't want to be anyone, just let's keep this to ourselves, but the multiple that you're getting on the digital real estate is a little bit better than the people that are seeing on the hard real estate side. Are you want to tell us about that a little bit?
Well, look, I think the cap rates for traditional real estate have been low, and that's sort of the inverse of the multiple. So I think nothing's cheap, I would say, to be sure, but when you think of the growth in computing, in mobile data, and just wireless coverage requirements and capacity requirements, you have this secular growth in revenue and just tenants looking for space, like in the digital world. So the lease up on towers has been very robust for years. And look, there's a Sprint T-Mobile merger will get announced, and then there's uncertainty, and those two companies will take a breather as they figure out, when they go through the approval processes. So it's not, trees don't grow to the sky, but there has been a huge amount of growth. And just even in hyperscale data centers, I think in Ashburn, Virginia, 2 years ago, there was like 200 megawatts of absorption in that market just from a leasing perspective. And this year, it's there's some digestion, so there's not going to be another 200. But if you just look over the arc, the growth in compute, mobile data, and capacity needs is in large part what's driving, I think, a premium on the digital real estate. Because certainly compared to retail, I'll tell you that much.
So why do you think that Wall Street and investors are valuing the digital piece so dearly? If you think about it today, I believe that SBA, one of the public tower companies, hit almost $300 a share. That multiple is somewhere in the 28 range. Why is it so valuable?
It's just that, look, the tower business, and we love all the businesses and they're all great. The tower business is like a unicorn business that is the best thing that many people have ever seen business model-wise. I mean, literally, these companies have 65, 70% EBITDA margins, and it's an incredibly efficient business. You just don't, and the tenant leases can be securitized, so there's very, very powerful access to debt financing and securitized financing. There's growth. You've got great customers that are very dynamic. So I just think with any of these Wall Street investments, and just like as more investors become aware, and more pension funds and institutions and foreign capital and sovereign wealth funds. And so you just have new investor classes becoming aware of some of these types of businesses and just piling in. And I mean, I literally had a email dialogue with one of my colleagues today, and we're like, God, I don't think cap rates on data centers can go any lower, and he's in Asia, and so I won't be seeing him immediately next week, but he is saying that there's all these foreign investors really just seeking investment and exposure to, and again, hyperscale data centers. Your customers are Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
But I think, Rich, that's all about cloud computing, right? And the huge expansion of devices. As we look at our buildings, you know, I can take a building, 2 million square foot building, maybe I have 1,000 sensors. You know, as we look at CBRS and the ability to expand that marketplace, I can see that 1,000 going to 3,000, 4,000. Easy, just little sensors that are grabbing data, but they need a place to ultimately store that data, and that growth curve is unbelievable.
It's the cloud, and by the way, it's just the connected devices, and I think the estimated number of connected devices is literally like I think it's using the T word. I mean, it's like trillion. So it's, which we're not there now, but that's just, the growth's unbelievable.
With the few minutes we've got left, I'd like to kind of look at your crystal ball, John, starting with you. You know, a lot of these folks are here for different things other than just the connectivity piece, but it seems to me that everything that everyone on the floor of the show, and here certainly, is riding on something that you own or you manage or you're looking at from the standpoint of connectivity. Let us have a little bit of your crystal ball. What do you see going down in the future in terms of how you maximize the opportunities for you with the hard assets and connect that to the connectivity piece?
Well, I think if we look at it based upon the human anatomy, buildings have always had a heart. Now they have a brain in terms of Nantum, final frontier, central nervous system. And I see that central nervous system, which ultimately is what Jeff is grabbing and delivering, getting more and more dense. We see more and more sensors, more and more granularity within our buildings, because all of that data can be collected, correlated, and then ultimately used tomorrow based upon what we learned today to do a better job running that building and delivering a better product. So I really see that central nervous system getting really, really dense and really, really granular, and ultimately that data allowing us to deliver an amazing product to our customer.
That's great. Jeff?
So I will completely agree with that and add to it that it will, the densification is irrefutable, but what's really interesting, and it's sort of counter, is that it will densify and move to the edge as well. So there's just a very big, powerful trend toward edge computing, improve latency, improve customer experience, and that's something that we're really focused on. And the question is the edge, you know, is it in a smaller city, not a top 10 city? Is the edge at the base of a cell phone tower somewhere? I mean, it's really very, very interesting, and many customers that we work with think about it differently. But I mean, at all of our cell phone towers 25 years ago, you had, you know, a shelter that was filled with equipment, and today it's like 80% empty because the equipment's so much smaller.
You got a server and a router.
Yeah, but so like what, you know, there's opportunities there that we're looking at, and so that's my next big thing.
So I'm going to thank you both. We're going to have our next guest come up and speak, but thank you both for doing this. I think it's been a great yin and yang to what you both are doing. Thank you.
Thanks.